Hello, Steeler Nation. Welcome to your Steeler Nation Vidcast, part of the Big Play Vidcast Network and sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises. I'm your host, Stryker, and today I am excited. I'm a wide receiver guy, and the Steelers just picked up a really sparky wide receiver by the names of Miles Boykin. This is a guy that my brother loved when he was watching his favorite team, the Golden Domers at Notre Dame, playing in college when he was drafted in 2019. I remember when the Ravens picked him up in that draft, and I thought, well, looks like the Steelers are going to have some problems here. This is a tall receiver. This guy at 6'4", 220, huge body, can't knock him off his roots, can't knock him off the ball, and he's smart about it. Catches with his hands, uses his butt to shield other defenders with his large body. Smart player. And you just got to look at his numbers. I mean, 6'4", 220, ran a 4.4 40, jumped out of the building with a 43.5-inch vertical, and had an incredible 11-foot, 8-inch long jump. I mean, this guy's so sparky, he's electric. I mean, for the draft, for wide receivers only, he was 9th in the 40, first in vert, second in the long, only by 1 inch, third in the 20-yard shuttle, and that was only by 0.04 seconds. So you're talking about it takes 0.1 seconds to blink. There. 0.04. That is 40% or 60% less than me blinking. That's how short he fell from being number 1 in the 20. So that's really, really fast. Really, really good at changing direction as well, which is great to have. Didn't have the best bench press, but I don't expect great bench presses out of a guy with 33-inch arms. I mean, he's doing more work than anybody putting up a bar on that entire team. It seems like some of the longest arms in the entire draft. But kudos to him, at least, for all the other metrics. I mean, strictly this guy, if you want to break him down and where he's going to fit in for the Pittsburgh Steelers, this guy, Miles, is going to be the Z receiver. He's going to be backing up Chase Claypool to start off. Also coming in on 4 wide receiver sets to be that other deep threat, big-bodied guy on the opposite side of Claypool now, given the quarterbacks 2 options on either sideline. I've been great for Ben to have 2 options on either sideline in a 4 wide receiver set because he seemed to only throw deep to the sidelines. But this definitely takes the place of Washington's role from last year. I think it's a role he can fill. I know he is way more useful on special teams than Washington was. Washington was a non-factor on special teams. This guy is a special teams player. He's a gunner. He's going to run down on kickoffs. He's going to run down on punt teams. He's going to play on the punt team as a gunner, and also took a pass and converted a first down for the Ravens. I remember in the one game that they played where he came back on a comeback route to get a first down. So he's a very versatile player on special teams, and that's somebody the Steelers love. If you're going to make the team in Pittsburgh, you make it on special teams, especially if you're a backup. That's one way for Miles to stick to this roster, and I can definitely see him doing this. Don't think he's a slot receiver at all. I also don't think the Ravens really used all of his talent for his route tree yet. He was kind of doing more deep stuff, runs great posts, runs great slants. I like to use him more on drag routes, maybe a couple quick in and out routes for V patterns to take advantage of his quickness with his size and see how he can go. The only downside, I guess, in his statistics that I saw was he has 33 catches in 40 games, which is not a whole lot. That's, less than 1 catch a game. But as far as I saw his tape in college, I went back and watched his 2018 highlights because that's where I have to take a guy. Baltimore can't develop receivers. They have not developed a single receiver since they've come to existence. They do good at bringing in veterans. You had Mason in there for a few years who was incredible. You had Brown in there for a few years who was incredible. The other guy on the tip of my tongue starts with the B as well. Used to play with the Arizona Cardinals again. I know you guys got Anquan Bolden. Those guys do well in the scheme because they've already been developed. I don't know why they can't develop why they can't really develop wide receivers, but Pittsburgh can. Pittsburgh knows how to work with receivers. And the things that I loved about his college tape was I did not expect a 6'4", 200-pound receiver to be turning around, coming back to the football, and catching the ball ahead of his body. I see a lot of body catchers on bigger receivers. This guy loves to put both hands on the ball, thumbs touching, index fingers touching. Perfect hand placement for catching footballs away from his body. And with as long as his arms are and as big as his body is, anybody that's playing in trail position has no chance of making a play on that football, which is something that I love to see. Guys, this is your podcast too. Get your comments up, get your questions up. I'll be getting them to you here soon as I'm done with my thoughts on Miles Boykin. But yeah, I'm expected to see him do some work, maybe even rushing on extra point and field goals to see if he can use those long arms and height to block some stuff, maybe even on punts too for punt block. And we needed a vet. We needed to pick up a vet receiver. This fits the role. So how is this going to affect the Steelers draft? I full on suspected the Steelers to pick up this kind of guy in the draft. A fast, tall, quick, sparky wide receiver. They got this guy already. I mean, we claimed him off for waivers, so we don't have to pay his signing bonus portion, which is like $210,000. That stays with the Ravens, but the $2.4 million sticks with us. We do have to pay that $2.5, right around there. But that's essentially what we lost with Haskins, God rest his soul, from the salary cap. So the salary cap really did not change at all when we got to add Boykin. And still, if he doesn't work out in camp, this is not a guaranteed contract. There's no dead money if he is released. Financially, it doesn't cost the Steelers a thing, but I love his upside. I love it. What say you, Steeler Nation? Let's start getting to your questions and comments and see how we're doing out there today. Finally got Facebook back up and running too, guys. I know you guys love to comment. So please, please, please let me know what you're thinking. Michael, how you doing, Michael? Great to hear from you, my friend. Miles Boykin in the house. Woo! Love it, man. Miles Jack, meet Miles Boykin. Miles Jack. We have our other Miles. Where with all this Miles talk, I'm hoping to hear from a specific Steeler fan in general. Miles Pressgrave! The Miles! We have miles and miles of Miles. Here we go. Once again, the Steelers doing me proud with another Miles. Chances I am the next Miles side. Let's go. Here we go, Miles. That's awesome to hear. Awesome to hear. I love how you brought up the last podcast, Miles, and we were still able to pick up another Miles, and not one you were thinking about. Not what any of us were really thinking about, but still really, really fun and funny that happened. Michael Hall, let's see how many miles these two can go in Pittsburgh. Miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep. Here we go. Brian Brown. How you doing, Brian? Good to hear from you as well, my friend. Wash Boykin in tomato juice. The Ravens stench is almost as bad as the Browns stench. But fortunately, he doesn't have to fly with that flock anymore. He can be our fair weather friend. And I'll tell you, Wormley's done phenomenal as a backup, pressed into the starting role last year. Anything happens to Claypool, same thing can happen to Miles this year. He would be pressed into the starting role. So I'm excited. I think this is a really exciting time for Steeler Nation. And let me know what you think about receivers. Like, the only thing that I'm going to make a point of for the draft, like I thought we were going to get a sparky guy for a backup fourth receiver, somebody to play behind Chase as well. But we did this with Miles. It really means that we don't have to pick up a sparky receiver anymore. But we still need that slot. That slot role still needs to be picked up. Don't know if we're going to do that in free agency before the draft. We've only got a week. Thus far, I don't think the guys that we have are good enough to play the slot full time. And I would love to see a day 1 or day 2 pick go to wide receiver, where the Steelers can put a starter in the slot immediately. I actually mentioned one in my mock draft today. Let me go back to my mock draft and see if I can find that for you guys, because that's always fun to talk about, because now we're getting close to the draft. Everybody's got their mock drafts coming up now, don't you? So let me see if I can find it here. Where did our mock drafts go? There we go. 7-round mock from CBS that just came out. Now, CBS's 7-round mock, I liked it. I had no problem with it. Their first pick number 20, was Jordan Davis. At that spot, phenomenal athlete, a guy that'll lock up the center of the defense. Cannot argue with that pick at all. Number 2, Desmond Ritter, quarterback from Cincinnati. Number 3, third rounder at pick 84, was Calvin Austin III, wide receiver from Memphis. Shorter guy, but is slotted to be a slot receiver. I'll talk about him in a minute. Then the next pick at 138, Mario Goodrich, cornerback out of Clemson. Pick 208, they took Tyson Anderson, safety from Toledo, which is a need that we definitely have. 225, Luke Tenuta, from an offensive tackle from Virginia Tech. We need an offensive tackle as well. And then Ty Chandler, running back from North Carolina, at pick 241. So where did I go? I mocked this mock fairly strongly, though I could not argue with their first 2 picks. Davis on that mock was the best value by far. He fell to us into our laps at 20. I'm taking him. I also agree with Ritter. I agree with Ritter around 2. The reason why, he's my favorite. Actually, he's my favorite. I was going to say second favorite behind Willis, but as far as for complete metrics, ready for the NFL, Ritter is my absolute favorite for accuracy mixed with passing ability mixed with mobility. I think he is by far maybe the best quarterback, in my humble opinion, in this draft. And if we're getting him in the 2nd round, I am all over it. All over it. My 3rd receiver, I did not go with the smaller receiver. I went with Khalil Shakir. And this is a wide receiver. I didn't want that small guy like Austin that they said, because he's like 170 pounds and 5'8". I mean, no thank you. No Chris Rainey. No other guy. Who was that other guy that we picked in the 3rd round where everybody lost their minds on that 3rd round comp pick? Oh gosh, a real tiny guy as well. But he was like Chris Rainey, tiny, but really fast. He ran one of the fastest combine times ever in the 4.28s. And funny enough, at his short height, did it in the shortest amount of steps ever, tying Megatron with the same amount of steps. So I thought that was an insane metric. Dre Archer. Thank you, Brian Brown. Dre Archer. Yes, that was the guy, and just drove me nuts. Absolutely drove me nuts. But I think Khalil Shakir, he can play punt return and kick return as well. He's bigger bodied. He kind of reminds me of Hines Ward a little bit with his toughness, with his ability to get in there and mix it up. Not afraid of getting hit. Not afraid of hitting in the running game. This is my kind of Pittsburgh receiver. Khalil Shakir, come to the team. He'd be a nice diverse weapon for Matt Canada in the 3rd round. My 4th pick, I'm going strong safety, and I'm going Percy Butler. Guy's a hard hitter, excellent special teams player. That transitions very well to the NFL, and that's how you make this team. Fast as hell. Runs a 4.4. Good size. You know, he's about 6 foot, 210, and the speed to play in the NFL. He's got the size and the speed. He plays the ball well in the air. Punishing hitter. Punishing hitter. And that's what I want out of a strong safety. Next to Fitzpatrick. So Fitzpatrick can do all the fun plays. This guy can beat you up. And that's what we had with Clark and Polamalu. Though Polamalu did his good share of beating people up too, but Clark laid the wood. Always laid the wood. And that's what I see out of Percy Butler. So that would be a good pickup there in the 4th round. Don't have a 5th round pick, get in the 6th round. I go to running back here, and I like Pierre Strong. I mean, this is the FCS Walter Payton Award winner for a top player in FCS football. To back up Najee Harris, getting him in the 6th round, sign him up. If this is the way the draft goes, I'm drafting him. Then my last pick 241. Who am I going to draft? I'm going to go with Hayward's brother. We're going to pick him up out of Michigan. He can play tight end, fullback, special teams. He's going to be a special teams monster out of the gate. So if this guy can be our 3rd tight end, our backup fullback, and special teams rookie year, it's a value pick at pick 7 and a good pick. Somebody that could be transitioned to maybe being the fullback the following year, because how many years can we keep paying DJ Watt for Derek? We'll have to see. But you guys tell me, like, if you've seen these mocks too, or if you have some mocks, love to talk mocks now. We're starting to get to that point, and it's fun to talk about always. Miles again, what's going on? I'm going to get myself a picture with the 2 of them, making it my to-do list this year, and you can do it in Latrobe this year because they have opened up St. Vincent's, Miles. You let me know if you're going too, man. I will let you guys know if I'm going to go. I'm going to take the RV. I'm going to try to camp out there if I can a little bit. Maybe go to a couple days, but maybe do a couple shows on location. That would be fun. That would be really fun to do. But yeah, have to make it happen. But fun that it's now opened back up. COVID took it away for 2 years. We are back in Latrobe. Latrobe community's got to be really excited about it. I know St. Vincent College is excited about it, but nobody's more excited than the Rooney family. They love being in Latrobe. They do. And they love how it fosters this whole college experience, dorm experience, getting to know your teammates. It's the way it has to be and the way it goes. I love it. It feels like a college environment too when you're there. Michael Hall, back again. TBH, as soon as I heard Boykin was waived, I was going to get your opinion on if we should get him. But I guess they beat me to the punch very quickly again. Job well done and very good pickup on Miles. Yeah, I can't complain. I honestly cannot complain about this pickup. Means something that the Steelers, this is what the Steelers do. Steelers have draft grades out on players. They do really good diligence in scouting coming into the league. So they know they like this guy. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work. Like Desmond Trufant, really like that guy coming into the league, drafted by the Browns, didn't do anything at cornerback there. When he was available, Steelers brought him over. He didn't pan out, unfortunately. But Miles Boykin is this kind of guy. Steelers liked him, loved his size to speed ratio. This is like a Martavis Bryant pickup. When we picked him up in the draft, was it pick number in the 4th round after the Dre Archer pick when everybody lost their minds? Yeah, that kind of metric, like Sammy Coates. But this guy has better hands than either of those 2 players. I love the way he comes back, works to the football, gets his whole chest facing the ball, both hands up, out ahead of his body, making his hands the biggest target on those 33.5-inch arms. Boom. Catch. I loved him. I didn't get to see as much, and really, how comfortable can he get in NFL games when his running back is running for his life and making a lot of plays? I mean, he does a good job of breaking routes and running with Jackson, but to tell you the truth, half the times I'm sure he didn't even know if the ball was coming to him. A lot of times he doesn't know how it's even supposed to look or how the play is supposed to look at all when he's ready to come around and break down and make plays. So it's got to be more fun to come into an offense now in Pittsburgh where he knows he's going to be involved in the football and he'll be getting it relatively more consistently and at a higher ratio. Because the Steelers are going to pass a bit more than Baltimore did. I'm not going to knock Jackson because Jackson's a winner. I don't care what Jackson's stats are. I've been to enough Ravens games. I live here in Baltimore area. I went to like two or three Ravens games last year when the Steelers weren't playing. I went to the Indy game. I went to, which I think was a Monday night. I went to the Minnesota game because I think I was working that game when the Steelers were either playing late or playing the next day. But I watched him play, and it doesn't matter how many points he was down by. He finds a way to compete. That Kansas City game finds a way to get his team back into games, finds a way to compete and get teams wins. And that's the one thing they were lacking down the stretch when Richards took over. Was it Richard, the backup quarterback? You guys can help me with that too. But when he took over, I liked him too. I thought he went through progressions well. I thought he played well, but obviously he was another guy running for his life a bit. And he wasn't a winner. He wasn't a winner. He won that Chicago game. That was it. And that was a surprising win in that game. Miles, I still think we are picking up Kyle Hamilton. Tomlin is salivating over this dude. Kyle Hamilton would be my number one dream in the first round because it fits the biggest hole still on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster, something we still don't have, a starting strong safety. We do not have a starting strong safety, ladies and gentlemen, on this roster. Strong safeties are just hanging out in free agency. Why is that, Stryker? Because the draft hasn't come up yet. Now people are like, I'm not paying that for strong safety. I'm going to draft one. Happened to the Steelers the year we went up and moved up in the draft to get Polamalu. We going to move up for Hamilton this year? I don't know. I wouldn't be against it. But honestly, I'd like to use all of our picks. I think the Steelers have enough needs that they need every single pick in this draft. I mean, obviously, but if he drops to like 12, you got to consider it. You've got to consider 15. Hell yes. You find a way to move up 5 spots and get a guy that's like a top 3 talent in this draft. And for some reason, nobody has a need for strong safeties. They're all sitting out in free agency. And nobody in free agency breaks the bank in free agency after the draft. Nobody. If you're already sitting around when free agency started, you're not picked up before the draft, you're not picked up in the first 2 days or the tampering period of free agency, no chance of getting paid. 0 chance of getting big money. So guys like Honey Badger, guys like KZ, guys like Edmonds. Edmonds is going to be signing for like a $2 million a year contract. A 4-year starter. Barely missed any games. He's going to be signing between 2 and 4 mil. Max. I think he wants 6. Steelers like 2 to 4. We'll see at 2 to 4. He's like, I'll see what free agency does. Still hanging out, sitting by his phone. How's it treating you there, Edmonds? Hope it doesn't call. Hope we're not calling. Michael Scott Joyner, how you doing? Facebook back in the house. Glad to see that Facebook link working. What's up, Stryker? Sorry I'm tardy to the party. You're never tardy when it's a Steeler party. We're happy to have you. Come on in. Let's talk some football. Brian Brown, it's very underrated that Ryan Clark was to Troy just what Darren Perry was underrated, what he did to Carnell Lake. And I'd reverse them. You know, to tell you the truth, I thought Darren Perry, like Lake laid the wood and Clark laid the wood. Perry sweeped up, made the interceptions, made the plays on the football, just like Polamalu did. And I love that kind of stuff. But that's what we need. We've had this guy playing with Fitzpatrick for 2 freaking years. And he's barely gotten better. Imagine how good Fitzpatrick will be if he had somebody capable next to him. Somebody dangerous next to him. Somebody that people had to scheme against playing next to him. That's why Hamilton is my dream pick there. Absolute dream pick. Absolute. Robert! How you doing, Robert? Good to hear from you, man. Hi, Stryker. As sexy as wide receiver picks, Steelers need 3 huge bodies more than a high wide receiver and left tackle, defensive line, probably nose tackle. Alualu out games with injury this year, and strong safety, 4th round wide receiver. I mean, I can't argue with that. I mean, you've got your options. I see it as a bigger need. And here's my reasoning, Robert, why I think wide receiver is a bigger need than nose tackle, because we do have 2 noses on the roster. We have Adams and we have Alualu coming back. But I would take that Davis as an upgrade. No questions asked. No questions asked. Left tackle, we have starters. We're set with starters, and Haig is a backup swing tackle. I'm not as worried about that. Where we do not have starters, we don't have starters at slot receiver. We don't have a starter at strong safety. So that's why I place those 2. If I'm drafting for need, those are the biggest needs. Yes, I think we're going to address all of those, though, in free agency. I'm sorry, not in free agency, but in the draft. And I agree with you completely on there, Robert. Colbert needs to pick up better veteran wide receivers in the mix. And then we're fine getting a wide receiver in 4 and quarterback back in 6. I don't even know if we need a corner. I was looking at the roster today. I did my mock draft on SteelerNation.com. We're doing the 7-round mock. Go over to SteelerNation.com on the football forum. Click on the football forum under the forums heading, and there's a thing for the CBS 7-round complete mock. Stryker, I've got mine in there. You can go watch it. I talked about it earlier. I don't have to rehash it again. But I did not take a cornerback. The reason why I didn't take a cornerback was I looked at that whole roster that we have currently. We already have Sutton. We already have Levi. We already have Witherspoon. I mean, all 3 of these guys are starting caliber edge corners. All 3 of them. And Sutton can play back down in the slot. Mollett can play down in the slot. We're set. We still have dang it, the guy that we drafted last year in the 7th round started with the letter L. Help me out, Steeler Nation. That guy, Norwood. Why did I say L? Norwood, up-and-coming player, learning and a great Swiss Army knife piece, too. This is why I say I'm not even looking at corner in this draft, unless, like, the way this shakes out, Davis isn't there, Hamilton's not there. If McDuffie falls in our lap, yep, bam. 1st round, I'm taking a corner. Because that's best player available. I mean, you have to finally get to a point where you're like, Steelers are finally going to draft a guy that is going to be a capable Pro Bowler, maybe all-star player. We'll have to see. But got to keep the options open. And the one way you keep the options open is by filling all of the slots before the draft. We still haven't filled slot receiver. We still have not filled strong safety. And that is why I'm like, these are needs now. And that is something that's rare under Colbert. It is rare not have some veteran help. Boykin helps a little bit, but we still really don't have that slot receiver. We don't. So you guys can disagree. And again, Robert, maybe Hayward's brother with the 2nd pick in the 7th round, but at that point, he'll probably be a free agent, and we'll know who'll want to play with Cam. So maybe a draft pick won't be necessary, and I 100% agree with you there. I actually mentioned that in my draft as well. I did take Hayward's brother with the last pick in our draft because I think he fits some needs. 3rd tight end, backup fullback, and a monster on special teams. That, lock him in, but the guy didn't get much stats at all. Probably, looking at everybody else, he's probably not going to be drafted. I mean, he's athletic as hell, but where else is he going to go? Where else is he going to go other than Pittsburgh will call him immediately. Before the draft is over, they're going to be like, if you're not taken, you're coming to Pittsburgh. Where else is he going to go? Is he going to play with his brother? Or is he going to go Baltimore? He's going to go somewhere. No way does he go anywhere else. But this is a guy that could take over Derek Watt's role down the road as well. And that would be a cheaper option. And if he's a stud on special teams as they say he is, that would be really interesting to see. Diego Ramirez, how you doing, sir? Good to have you on the show. Hey, it's Diego from Mexico again. Muy bien, Diego. I also like the Boykin pickup. I hope this season I can go to Heinz Field and attend my first Steelers game. Please let me know if you do. Tweet at me, slide into my DMs at SN Stryker over at Twitter, Instagram, and let me know. I'll tell you all the places to go, all the places to hit. I might even be in town because when I come into town, I just stay in my RV. I just park it in West Allegheny on the west side. I stay there for like 3 days. It's like a cheat code. It's awesome. I start there Saturday night, right there as the meters are stopping around 5, 6. No meters on Sunday. Leave Monday morning. Nobody bothers me. Awesome. It's awesome. Michael Scott Joyner. I see the mocks having Davis from Georgia falling in the second round. Should we trade up in the second round if he's still there? Possibly. I mean, my problem, though, is trading up for picks in general, for the most part. I'm going to be on this for a bit, hon. Another half hour. Okay, help yourself. Paper's right here. You're not on the screen. My daughter Viola getting some paper. She's an artist. She can show off her shirt here quick, though, if she'd like to. Because she's wearing a great shirt tonight. Hey, Viola, come over here and show off your shirt to Steeler Nation. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that shirt. Liza, come here. Liza. Oh, you okay? Liza, up. Liza, come here. Oh, that's a Browns fan dog for you. My brown dog just ran out. So that's the family. Yeah, but, you know, if Davis is falling to the second round, I don't see it. I don't see him falling to 20. I really don't. But nose tackle's devalued in the NFL. Like fullback is devalued in the NFL. You don't draft the fullback in the first round. A lot of us will argue you don't take a nose tackle in the first round. Why? Because what's he going to play? 35% of the snaps on defense? You want to use a first-round player for a player that's playing a third of your snaps on defense? If you can be that much of a difference maker, though, you use it. You use it. I consider it. I think you're talking me into it. I mean, I hate to give up draft capital at all. At all. For play. Maybe if we could trade Adams, throw Adams in for that. So get rid of one nose tackle, get another. I'd be all over that. Yes. That's my kind of trade. Players, not draft picks. Michael Hall. I just read our GM is number 3 in the NFL. He would be number 1 if the man would have picked up your favorite player, the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, come on. He's been a top 3 GM his entire career. Phenomenal career. And we're going to look at his record. We're going to look at all of the Hall of Famers that he has drafted. Polamalu. Ben Roethlisberger. Got a shot at Hines Ward. I mean, we got some Hall of Fame caliber players. Even Harrison. Well, Harrison wasn't technically drafted. He was an undrafted rookie free agent. But still picked up by that regime and that scouting department when we first brought him in, and brought him back after he played in NFL Europe under the Baltimore Ravens flag for that season. I remember that when he was in Hamilton. I actually watched that stuff. I loved watching the USFL. Have not watched the current USFL Pittsburgh Maulers yet. I want to start watching. I didn't know it started yet. If you guys are watching it, let me know how that's looking too. I'd love to hear your opinions on that. Robert back again. We'll know whether or not the Steelers believe Tuitt will be back or not by how high they draft a defensive end or not. And can Davis play that DN slot spot? Like, is he athletic enough to be a 3 to 7 tech if Tuitt doesn't play? I mean, that's the best of all worlds. That's worth a first-round draft pick. If we take a guy that's going to be our nose when we trot out a 3 down lineman situation, or he swings out when we go 2 down linemen and plays 3 to 7 tech, that is a steal. That is somebody I move up for in the second round. That is somebody I draft highly in the first round. Yeah. Now we're going to start talking about it that way. We got to think about it. See, this is why we all think this is a brainstorming session, Steeler Nation. We're the scouting department. We got to think of who we're drafting now. That's it. Miles back again. So many Miles. I'm surprised Hayden hasn't signed to a team yet. Do you think he might come back? I'd love to have him back. Not at that price. Now that the draft is coming up and he doesn't have a team, he's going to sign cheap. maybe $4 or $5 million a year. I'd take him for that in a heartbeat. Absolutely take him for $4 or $5 million a year. Don't take him at that 11 price point. Don't take him at the 15 he wanted. Don't. So I can go to my list here. I'll tell you all of the free agents still unemployed that were Pittsburgh Steelers. Joe Hayden being one, which a lot of us really wanted to lock up. Still hanging around, not doing much. Joe Schobert, who was cut, not a free agent, salary cap cut. He and Zach Banner himself both are waiting for teams, but they were cut a bit after free agency. Kellen Ballage, running back, still out there. BJ Finney, still available. Eric Ebron, athletic tight end. You guys get upset over DJ's drops. This guy's had a much higher drop ratio per target than DJ has ever had. And he's still available. Terrell Edmonds, strong safety. We have a need at strong safety. Still sitting there. Trey Turner, backup right guard. Josh Dobbs. Oh, nope. Sorry. He went to Cleveland. I am updating my sheet right now. Went to Cleveland. He will be in Cleveland this year. DeMarcus Christmas was an exclusive rights free agent, as well as DeMarcus Acey. Christmas was a defensive tackle. Acey was a cornerback. Neither of them were tendered. So they're both free agents. They would have been exclusive rights free agents to play at league minimum, but they have not been tendered, and they are available as well. So some good talent here. Schobert should have a team. Guy had 100 tackles last season. Guy should be playing in the NFL. Hayden as well, being as smart and savvy as he is, though I see him maybe making a switch to free safety this year for a team that might need a free safety. If we needed one, I'd love to have him back. We didn't have Fitzpatrick, he'd be on our team. Heck, he might be sitting there in the offseason. If something happens to Fitzpatrick, we might bring him in to play free safety. That would be interesting. Thinking out the box like we do here on the show, guys. That's what we always do. Robert, back again. If Tuitt not back then, defensive end in the first round, safety in the second round, and a huge, powerful offensive tackle in the third round. The priorities over your sexy wide receiver dreams. But that's it. Like, I don't see how a backup offensive tackle developmental third round offensive tackle is better than any of the two guys we have on our roster starting. Are they better than Chooks? Are they better than Dan Moore Jr.? I don't know. I don't think so. Not in the third round. But I'm not against picking up an offensive tackle. If there's somebody the Steelers like in the second round, third round, sure, go ahead and do it. But the need is that need is there. We don't have a slot receiver. This is the way it is. Some things will never change. Michael Hall, ain't no party like a Steelers party because the Steelers party don't stop ever. Well, actually, mine goes for about an hour. But yes, I like you talking. Ed, how you doing, Ed? Good to hear from you again. Ed Seeger. The Baker Mayfield, the Steelers rumor is still hanging around. What's your thoughts? I started it, Ed. I talked about it on the podcast a while ago, and I started getting some hate tweets and stuff. I don't care. But if he gets cut and he wants to be like to the Browns, come over to our team, yeah, he'd do it for nothing. Browns are, no matter what, Browns have to pay his 5th-year option. Locked in. They can't just dump. That's why they're trying to trade for him. They're trying to get that $18 million off their books. If they dump him, still going to be on the books. $18 million. They're going to pay his salary no matter what, which means he could just sit there, rake in that Cleveland cash, and play for league minimum in Pittsburgh to give the old thumb of the nose to the Brownies. And I take them. Think about it, guys. We'd have a number 1 overall pick, a number 2 overall pick. Unfortunately, we lost our number 15 overall pick. Oh, man. Oh, Dwayne Haskins thing still comes back and hits me every time I think about it. Oh. And then our third rounder, who's supposed to be our starter, and Mason Rudolph. So then might get a first or second rounder this year. Who knows? Might be Pickett, might be Ritter. I don't know. It's got a crazy year. This is a crazy draft. This is a crazy, crazy draft. Robert again. Johnson and Claypool are starters, dude. So why draft a starter in the first round when you already have at that position with great needs on both lines and safety, wide receiver in the first round? Be silly. It's the same thing as drafting a nose tackle in the first round. Nose tackle plays 30% of the plays. In our offense, we're usually running 3 wide receivers. It's usually closer to 40%, 45%, depending on how good the slot is on our team. That's what you get pushed when you're drafting somebody higher, but definitely doesn't have to be a first rounder. Start putting words in my mouth. I'm not saying we have to take a wide receiver the first day. This is a deep wide receiver draft. We can find good slot receivers first couple days, but the best ones are day 1 and day 2. And I'd be happy to take a second rounder or third rounder on an excellent wide receiver. If the value isn't there on a first rounder that's fallen out of the first round, that we have a first round draft grade on, falls into our laps at pick 20 in the second round, take him. I take him over any wide receiver. That's the way it goes. Brian Brown, I wonder if the Steelers plan to make Norwood the starter. Thinking about that Chargers game last year, that's a little scary. Well, he's a 7th round rookie. He did some things really well. I think he defends the pass pretty well. He's obviously a little undersized when it comes to defending tight ends, but he can bulk up a little bit more. He's got a good frame. And he started in his rookie year as a 7th rounder as the nickel, starting nickel. So, which nickels are also starters. I know they're an extra player, Robert. Quit putting words in my mouth. It would be a position of need if we didn't have one. But I see his snaps going up this year. I really do, Brian. Really do. AJ Hinton, how you doing, AJ? Steelers are in the driver's seat. We can find a strong safety and wide receiver in this draft. Think we're taking the best players available all the way down the draft. Amen. That's the way we go. That's the way we go, AJ, and that's the way I want to see it. Robert, definitely realize we need to draft wide receiver and would like the Steelers to package a couple of the bottom picks along with our 4th round pick and move up for a 2nd round and 3rd round pick a wide receiver. Like I said, there's depth all over this draft. That's why I'm kind of against giving up any picks in this draft, Robert, because this is the draft that all those people that took that year off from COVID, that opted out that year, are now technically in their 5th year, plus all the redshirt freshmen. So this is like a double. This is like a compressed draft with talent all over it. 1st round to 7th round. You got great talent. In my mock draft, I get the Walter Payton Player of the Year with my first 7th round pick. I mean, that's how deep this draft is. And it might fall that way. It might. It's just how crazy this draft is going to be this year because there is just so much talent. So that the small school guys are going to get overlooked for the most part. You got so much of the other guys that opted for a year out, came back, had a great year. They're getting drafted. Everybody's getting drafted. And then all your guys are early coming in. Oh, look at all this talent. Don't have it at quarterback. Got a ton at wide receiver, ton at corner, ton at safety, ton at lines, both of the lines. Linebackers are looking good deep as well. I mean, this is a sick draft. This is a draft you want picks. I don't know if I'm going to package for a guy that's not a starter, Robert, for wide receiver wise, but if you can get a great one, always try to get a great one. And that's the way the Steelers do operate. Especially to get a nice big slot again. I like those type of guys. Robert, Steelers could get a 2nd round, 3rd round pick if they offer a 4th and 6th one, 7s for a bet, use that for a wide receiver after, get a huge lineman either sides, strong safety before wide receiver. I mean, I understand these things. Also talking about that strong receiver from Penn State. I've been starting to look into him. I'm going to do some game research on that because I've been starting to look into the wide receivers, and then I'm going to look into the strong safety because I think that those are our biggest needs. We're going to talk about that exclusively next week before the draft. That is going to be the show. So really excited to do those talks too, Robert. Miles, back again. I've been seeing a lot on Twitter of people calling for Debo to Pittsburgh. And I'm just thinking to myself, you would rather pay a random over a 4-year Pittsburgh vet. There's no way I take a malcontent like Debo over DJ. There's just no way. Debo's a great player, but I'm going to pay DJ before I pay Debo. That's who I want to pay. DJ just made his first Pro Bowl. DJ is the best receiver in the league at getting separation off his break. DJ went from 17 drops 2 years ago to 5 drops last year with over 100 catches. I'm paying DJ. I'm locking him up. He wanted 16 when he tweeted that out in the offseason earlier in the year. Now he's saying 18. Sign him to it today. Yesterday, 18 mil for 5 years. Signed, sealed, delivered. That is a steal for Deontay Johnson. I do it yesterday. You don't find that kind of talent, guys. And I did a whole show on this before. He's entering the 4th year as the starting X wide receiver. His stats blow away the numbers of any other X receiver we have ever had. 100 more catches than Antonio Brown. Stallworth isn't even in the picture. Hines Ward isn't even in the picture because those guys didn't start as early as he did too. Then again, his first game he started was the first game Ben Roethlisberger did not play in 2019 because he got hurt in game 2. Deontay Johnson became a starter game 3. Played the first 2 games, got 4 catches, 40-some yards from Ben, no touchdowns, but got all of his stats in 2019, and look at his stats. From Duck and Rudolph. From a reindeer and a waterfowl. That is what Deontay Johnson got his stats from in 2019. And his stats are killing any other X receiver we've ever had on our roster, which they all blow up in year 4. Every single one of them blew up in year 4. He blew up year 3. Brown had a good year 2, but he did not make the Pro Bowl as a receiver. He made the Pro Bowl in year 2, even though he had 1,000 yards receiving. He made the Pro Bowl as a returner. Keep that in mind when we're talking about X's and O's, because his numbers just destroy Antonio Brown's. So if he starts blowing up in these years, these next 4 to 5 years, the way Antonio Brown did off of his first contract, it will be a steal, and everybody will be calling him the most underpaid wide receiver in the league. Because if he's locked in at 18 for 5 years, other wide receivers making now they're starting to push 23 to 25. They're going to be pushing 30 million by the time he's done with his second contract. And he's going to feel like he's being slighted. That's why I lock him. Lock him up. Make him a stealer. Boom. That's the way. Your daughter is adorable, Stryker. Thank you, Brian. We just went to the mall. She had some artwork. All the schools for our county and Howard County go to the Columbia Mall. It's all displayed, and she's featured for Lisbon Elementary School. So we went down and got to take some pictures with her and her artwork and have some food down at the mall here before the show. So yeah, she's definitely a lot of fun. She's a great girl. Great girl. Smart too. Good at music. I'm looking forward to what she's going to do in life. Robert, Darren Perry, Thomas Everett, Ryan were great hitters and underrated nationally. Let's talk about some other great ones. Myron Bell. Talk about Lethon Flowers. Those were some hitters. Those were some slobber knockers. I mean, Perry and Everett, they had great ball skills as well. Those guys were excellent at interception. I think did Everett either come from Dallas or did he go to Dallas after he left us? I remember something with Dallas with that guy. But yeah, he was a good player as well. I loved all those guys. Loved all those guys, Robert. Sutton is not ideal of starting outside cornerback, even though he's great as a backup cornerback. We need another more elite outside guy in the cornerback mix. And I don't disagree with that at all, because I was looking at the roster. I'm like, heck, our best 3 corners as I'm looking at the roster today. You put up Levi and Witherspoon on the edges. Sutton in the slot. That's the best team we have. And what does that say to me? we should never have gotten rid of Hilton. That's what it says to me. That one will burn me for years. Years. Robert, you already know, Stryker. I want us to bring back Hayden. Let's solve the problem. I am fine. I will take back Hayden. I would take him at cornerback depth any day of the week. The guy is a smart man. Yeah, there's no two ways about it. I'm with you. How Hayden is there, invisible clue that makes up for a Lombardi championship team and glue that will be missing if we don't bring him back. Plus, he said his age is better than anyone we got. I don't, I think he can still play too. I really do. Nothing wrong with bringing him back. Joe Hayden is invisible glue. That means the Steelers D-tick. The Steelers D-tick. I don't know what that means, but I like it. If Steelers do not bring back Hayden this year for at least a 1-year contract, it will be a more obvious, worse loss than not having Vincenzo Williams last year, friends. Though Williams retired. Williams was a surprise. And he was, year 7 or 8 of his career? And he retires. Nobody was expecting Vinsanity to retire. Nobody. That was a surprise in that offseason. Really was. Pouncey was a little bit too, but, writing was on the wall when his brother retired. But yeah, Vince was a surprise. That was a jaw dropper. He retired? Yeah. Hayden, I'd bring him back, but it's got to be the right price because we can't pay everybody. Really can't. 2022 Steelers are 1 injury at all offensive tackle away from being a lame duck. We'll have to see. We'll see who we're picking up. If you're saying we're going to take an offensive tackle high, might have some good depth coming up here and might pick up another veteran. That's why I'm surprised. Like all the vet offensive linemen we picked up were interior offensive linemen that are center capable. That's insane. We have 4 capable centers on this roster as we speak today. 2 we picked up, Daniels and Cole. Got our guy last year that we drafted to be the starter, Green. And we got the guy backing up in J.C. Hassenauer. There we go. 4 guys that can play center. For me, you can't have too many of those guys on your roster. You really can't. Michael Hall. We're not thinking Kyler, are we? It's what I'm hearing. Kyler Murray? Like bring him in as a quarterback? Which Kyler are you talking about? I need more specifics on that. Correction, that lame duck is wrong version of the 2022, considering the replies already in position of power, which they are not, and they will be without getting much better at offensive tackle depth. We need an offensive tackle. I don't disagree with you here, Rob. You don't have to keep saying it. I understand. Oh, here we are. What about offensive tackle? I'm just a guy who warned everyone Shazier's last year that Steelers were going to be nothing without depths at inside linebacker, and people ignored me like they're ignoring my overtime talk, offensive tackle talk. I'm not ignoring you, but I was also screaming for the Steelers to really pick up an inside linebacker and get one higher and really push for it in the last, and as soon as they lost Shazier. And that next draft, they didn't even address it. Yeah, that's where I was screaming. Offensive tackle doesn't go down this year to mediocre offensive tackle, mediocre outside tackle. The team doesn't win a championship. Injuries are part of teams winning championships. Health is a big reason why teams win championships. And we got to see who gets cut, too, at the deadline. Sometimes good offensive tackles get cut at the deadline to be salary cap cuts or roster cuts. So we'll have to see what happens there. Depth of key positions is important, and everyone ignores me about inside linebacker. Yeah, we already talked about that one. Let's go, Kenny Beamer. Dwayne Woodruff, another good safety. Yeah, I like some Woodruff there, too. He's one of those transitional 80s guys when I first started watching the team. Yeah. Miles Boykin, PFF ranked him as the number 3 run-blocking wide receiver in the NFL in 2021. That is an excellent stat. Thank you, Jack Goff. Excellent, excellent take and bring to this because that's what we need. That's why the Steelers decided to make a waiver claim for him as opposed to waiting for him to hit free agency. They didn't want to have to compete with other people, lock him into that $2.4 million contract. We will have a run-blocking, big-bodied wide receiver on this team, and we love our blocking wide receiver. Claypool's a great one too. He is. He was always willing to do it. Notre Dame doing it in the pros, man. So we got some good run blockers here. That's great. Great. Excellent point, Jack. Love it. Jack off. I just got it. That's fucking amazing. Everett left the Steelers to play for the Cowboys. Yeah, I thought I was remembering that right. Thanks, Brian. Brian, I appreciate that. Fact checkers at Steeler Nation, always here. Love the cat dog kid inclusions every time, and I'll see you singing a couple episodes back. It's amazing more people don't watch on YouTube, Stryker, because in Steelers world, you do stand. Do you stand out? Is that a question? In Steelers, do you stand out? Yeah, I have a singing background. I was a classically trained baritone. Started off as a bass. My early years in middle school, didn't start singing until 8th grade. And in my first year, I made all-state chorus and made the chamber choir, the traveling chamber choir, which they only take 3. They took 3 my year. Sometimes they only take 1 freshman every year. They took 3 my year, but I was the only person they took from that school. They took 2 from the other feeder school from Ridgely, and they took 1 from Delaney, and I was the one they took. Then I, went on and write music, played in some bands. I've got a YouTube channel up for music on there too. It's Never Was NVRWUZ. I'll just put it down here. If you find that channel, you guys can see my singing in all its glory. I do some funny stuff, some fun stuff, some covers, some Irish stuff. And I just popped it down there too. So if you want to check that out, it's down there. But yeah, can't just have one passion in life. I've got a lot of them. I really just enjoy life and as much as I can get out of it. And I've got a great family, great cat, great dog. I mean, my dog's getting awesome too, starting to take her out more into public places because she's turning 2 now. She's getting a lot better too going out, and want her to be there too. Delton Hall. Yeah. Thomas Severn would rock your, yeah, it's Belton Hall. Yeah, now I get it. Yeah, Belton Hall, Thomas Severn would rock your world and knock you out like real football players, as opposed to the fake, woke BTS version of football nowadays. It's lame. This is why I can't stand Edmonds, Robert. You're preaching to the choir, man. This is why I can't stand it, because Edmonds was just a guy. I got you. 100 tackles. Here we go. Here, let me lay you down nicely. I mean, I'm used to seeing this. I want to see this out of my inside linebackers. I want to see this out of my strong safeties. I don't want to see my strong safety be a laid-back dude. I don't want a laid-back safety. I want a strong safety. And that's what I'm talking about with Edmonds. Edmonds is a laid-back safety, man. He's just laid back. I mean, I like the guy, nice guy, but I want a strong safety. Robert, Delton Hall, and Thomas Everett, along with Hardy and the hardware man, Nickerson, yep, played real Steeler football as opposed to the stuff nowadays. You grew up in the 80s just like me, man. These are my guys. Walter Abercrombie, Malarkey when he's playing tight end, all that crap. Brian Brown, what's the name of the defensive back the Steelers lost to the Saints? Was that Brown? Curtis Brown? No, it wasn't Brown. Brown was the guy we kept, but we lost the other guy, and I thought it started with an M. If it's serving my brain right. But yeah, I know who you're talking about. I expected him to do more when he went to the Saints, but he ended up not doing that much with the Saints. Really didn't blow up the way I was expecting him to blow up, but maybe would have played better in our system as well. But he did play well in our system. Why am I thinking the other Boykin when we had the guy that we got from Philadelphia? But that's not the guy either. Steeler Nation, APB out for Brian Brown. Let's try to help him find that other cornerback that we're talking about that ended up getting taken by the New Orleans in free agency. Robert, yes, Vince Williams was a surprise, which will make it worse this year with refusing to re-sign Hayden. They already know it's going to be a problem. So if they let it happen, it's the Steelers' old fault. I still think they have some options at corner. I really do. I mean, Sutton's still an outside option. We still have Justin Lane. I imagine we're going to pick somebody up in the draft too. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Robert, then again, Kevin Colbert, Mike Tomlin combination have never, ever been able to draft a good wide receiver. Sutton must be the best one. Sutton's the best one. He's still on the roster. He's still a utility piece. He's still moving between slot corner, edge corner, free safety in the dollar, free safety in the dime. Yeah, I love the way they use Sutton. Absolutely love it. But he's not an outside corner. Yeah, we don't have that outside corner though, Robert. You're right there. Miles, the more you know. Never Was Music. Yep, that's the one I was talking about. Never Was. Oh, it's coming across it's coming across all the platforms now. Never Was Music. That was I was in a band called Fat Kid. We were signed in 2000 out of Den Music, which were a couple guys from Capitol Records. It was Gary Gersh and John Silva. They were the guys that were in charge of finding the Beastie Boys and Nirvana during that whole grunge rush thing. So, yeah, they managed those groups as well for their managing company. But, yeah, we ended up, they had a big scandal. If you want to look up the Den Music scandal or the Den Entertainment scandal, it was one of the guys that was a founder, and he was in the Mighty Ducks. And you guys will find it. This really isn't Steeler Nation worthy. But it's interesting stuff. I can talk about anything. Used to fly planes. I do all sorts of crazy stuff. Michael Hall, is there a way that during the NFL draft we blur out and cut the audio of Mel Kiper? He's only salty at Pittsburgh because he's the better, because we the better ones, and we still the kings of the AFC North for life. And Ravens number 2. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well, you want to cut it out for good? Come to our platforms during the draft. I am doing a Steeler draft marathon starting half an hour each day before each draft day. I will be going live through the end of each draft day. On Sunday, I stay through all of the undrafted rookie free agent signings. So I stay on for an extra hour after the draft on Sundays. I only missed 8 minutes last year of all 3 days, where Mel Kiper gets a break every 15, every 10. He gets to flip that hair, powder that nose. Let's go Ravens. Screw you, Mel Kiper. You can't do what I do because I'm an endurance man. I'm a hockey player. I'm a goalie. I don't come off the field. I don't come off the rink. I'm out there the whole time. Brian Brown. I thought the name had a K in it. Okay, lots. Great name. Great name. Yeah, thanks, Miles. I'll just look it up here quick because I kind of know when he played. It should be right here on my bookmark sheet. Wow, we've already hit an hour. This is the fastest hour ever, guys. This is the fastest hour ever. This is insane. Yes, but I'm going to go to team histories and check the Steelers. It was right around, I think it was on the roster in 2011. Curtis Brown was definitely on the roster then. William Gay was on the roster as the other corner. Keenan Lewis, you were right. It was the K. Keenan Lewis. I don't know how I got an M in there, but you were right with the K. We all got it, Steeler Nation. It was Keenan Lewis. Mystery solved. Robert, love you, Stryker, but I'm before the 80s. It's a toddler in 1968 and 69. I remember my parents having parties and then my parents arguing about the coaches Hill and every Steelers Three Rivers home game beginning game 1. Awesome. That's great. Yeah, I was immaculately conceived after the Immaculate Reception, but I was born before the Steelers' first Super Bowl win. Didn't really get to see the Steelers Super Bowls or understand they were going on until 1980 when my dad was swearing the entire first half at Terry Bradshaw for turning the ball over repeatedly to that rookie quarterback on the Rams side. No matter what Mel Kiper says, he will always look like Charlie Sheen in Town Dracula Had a Baby. I loved that call last week too, Brian. That's an excellent, excellent reference. And I'm going to use that. I will quote you too on that, Brian. That was great. I'll use that on the draft show. Keenan Lewis. Yep, we're all there. Thank you, Elaine. Welcome to the show, Elaine. Awesome. Thanks, Elaine. That's it. Perfect. Pitt Stadium, Steelers game memories. That was That every home Steelers games at Three Rivers when it opened in 1976 moved Chicago, saw Steelers play the best college players. Yeah, those are on YouTube. That's a great call, Robert. That was back when the Super Bowl champion would play the college all-stars. And they were actually competitive games. Some of them were more competitive than the Super Bowl game. And it's a treat to be able to go back and watch those Steelers stars play in those college all-star games for winning the Super Bowl. Really, really interesting thing. Best players equals bloody massacre, lost dreams, super sad. Right. But some of them were competitive. Miles, I know you're trying to wrap us up, but what do you think about the Johnny Depp situation? Johnny Depp. I mean, this is a tough thing. Like, I'll tell you at least what I think about personalities, famous people. They're human. We can love their movies. We can love the way they bring a character to life. You know, I still watch some Kevin Spacey stuff, and I'm like, I still enjoy the way he acted in when he was Kaiser Sose. I mean, that was freaking phenomenal. Whatever that movie was called. We'll have to freaking get a second. But, you know, I separate it. I don't expect him to be a perfect human being, and I don't think he's a perfect human being. I think he's got to deal with a lot of issues. And he's one of these charmed people that thinks the world revolves around him. Like, because that's what happens when everything comes easily. You make lots and lots of money. You think you're winning at life. So he doesn't have to play the hard game like we do. Get along with people. That's not a necessity for people that are super rich. You don't have to get along with everybody. You can be a jerk if you want. Doesn't mean you're hitting people, or doesn't mean you should hit people. But I'm not hitting people. I haven't hit a woman since I was an adolescent, and that was my sister, and once to my mom. But my mom was the last girl I ever hit in my life. I think I was in 4th grade or 5th grade. That was it. Done. It's a little off topic, but yeah, I'm always down with stuff. I can talk about anything. Guys, I'm going to start going through my rundowns. It's your last chance to get some stuff in so you guys can have last word on the show. Always. You guys always have last word. But I've got to get to the sponsors, at least for the trade out. I also got to just quickly say we re-signed Marcus Allen. He signed his restricted free agent tender yesterday, as well as grabbing Miles Boykin. J.C. Hassenauer, of course, signed his exclusive rights tender the week before. Robert Spillane signed his 1-year restricted free agent tender the year before that. So all the people that we gave tender offers to signed them. Signed, sealed, delivered. Also getting that new quarterbacks coach, which I wanted to talk about exclusively, but I'll have to touch on that next show. David Corley coming in from William & Mary. That's he used to be the quarterback at William & Mary, which is Tomlin's old alma mater. So welcome him. Now we have 2 quarterbacks coaches. So to me, I'm thinking we're drafting a quarterback. It's going to happen. So especially since we picked up Mike Sullivan 2 years ago. Not that Mike Sullivan. He's over for the Pens. Let's go, Pens. Coming back to you. I got the thing. Come see our sponsor, Total Sports Enterprises at tseshop.com, or follow them on Twitter at Total Sports ENT. Podcasts will be coming out on Pittsburgh Sport or DK Pittsburgh Sports on Fridays, usually around 1 or 2. They always premiere the video of the podcast at 6. So over on YouTube on DK Pittsburgh Sports podcast channel, that's where you can find me. Read our great Pittsburgh Steeler-focused articles at SteelerNation.com. Tweet us at SteelerNation. Instagram us at SteelerNation.com. Follow the Steeler Nation podcast on Twitter at _SN Podcast. Or follow your host, Steeler Nation Stryker, on Twitter and Instagram, SN Stryker. So now back to you, Steeler Nation, for last words. What do we have to say? Robert, I'm siding with Johnny Depp. Is like siding with someone who criticizes Mike Tomlin, in that it might seem wrong at first, but it becomes clear who is right. Yeah, I just don't take sides in anything. When it comes to domestic issues are the most difficult thing for a police officer to have to show up to do. I've got friends that are police officers. I say, what's the hardest call you get? Not shots fired. It is domestic disturbance, because you never know what you're walking into when a domestic disturbance is happening, because the emotions are running hotter in a domestic disturbance, because there's more emotional connection in that moment between people. Like, two people can get in a fight, but they might not even know each other. So it's not that, yeah, they're spun up in the moment, endorphins are going, but it's not that emotional hate that I want to murder you. That's a domestic disturbance. So I am never taking sides in a domestic disturbance. And that's what my police officer friends have to do when they show up to these things, to have to quickly assess, diffuse the situation, get the people away from each other safely, to have them fight another day. Have everybody fight another day. Brian Brown, good show, Stryker. Go Steelers. Thank you, Brian Brown, man. Love you on the show as always. But, dude, I honestly still get carded all the time, believe it or not, at dollar stores in the evening. Carded me at the Asian market, and Asians are famous for looking young. It freaks them out. That's amazing, Robert. You're blessed with great genes. Please take advantage. Please stay young at heart. I can tell you're young at heart with the way you interact with these chats as well. So that is awesome to hear, Robert. Blessings to you, man. Awesome content. Go Steelers. Thank you, Kenny Beamer. Miles, I'm peacing out. Bye, Miles. Good to see you, man. Effing Dollar Trees card you for being 18 years old. You're buying some kind of lighter and whipped cream. I've happened multiple times. So I was wearing a baseball cap. What are you doing with a lighter and whipped cream? You lighting bowls and doing whippets? It's like, no wonder you look so young. You're living your high school years. You're living your best life, Robert. That's amazing. Awesome. I love that, man. Great show as always, Stryker. Go Steelers. Thank you, Michael Hall. And thank you for helping to make this great. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions as always, my friend. What is this? Are these 3 bunny butts? I can't see this. What? I got to zoom in. Oh, no. 3 peace signs. Awesome. Triple pieces. Boom, boom, boom. Thank you very much there, Michael Hall. I appreciate it, man. Robert, lost rent and bloody. Was that Steelers game I saw when I moved to Pittsburgh to Chicago? Steelers played the best college players, first round draft picks, millions of futures, millions Steelers. Yeah, Steelers injured. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why they stopped doing it. You're right. Steelers injured many first round draft picks right before the draft and ruined their futures. And now look at it. First rounders aren't even freaking playing in their bowl games anymore. I call it bull crap. I think that's a rating on your character and if you're a team player or not, but that's just me. Last call from Robert. That's the Steelers game, and I watched in monsoon like pouring rain, Soldiers Field, Steelers versus College All-Stars team. Many guys left on stretchers with blood in the rain, puddles all over. That's old school football, Robert. Thank you for sharing that moment, man. And thank you, Steeler Nation, for being part of our show, my favorite show of the week, the unscripted Steeler Nation vidcast. So thank you for joining us for the Steeler Nation vidcast, sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises, part of the Big Play Vidcast Network. I'm your host, G Stryker, rooting along with you as always, and especially, Robert, I'm just going with you because you're a big part of this show, Robert. Go Steelers!